welcome to another episode of Between the Pipes with Archie from All Everything Entertainment.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Between the Pipes. We're on episode 7 of our series. Flying solo for the first little bit. Daniel is preoccupied at the moment, but will be joining us real soon. So we've got a game on tonight. Starts at 8 o'clock. That'll be game 3 between the Lightning and the Islanders. Tampa Bay is up 2-0 in that series. Islanders are pretty much in a position where they've got to win. There's no really, I don't think putting yourself in a 3-0 position is going to be beneficial to them in any way, let alone I don't think anybody's going to come back 3-0 down to Tampa Bay with the way the Lightning have been playing. So it's pretty much they've got to play this one tonight like it's a game 7. It's do or die for the Isles. They're not going to come back. That's something I'm pretty confident in. If you go down 3-0, it's pretty hard enough as it is, let alone against a Tampa Bay team that we've seen this year so far. Last night we did have the Western Conference finals go on, and that is between the Golden Knights and Dallas Stars. The Stars are now leading that series 2-1, and it's shocking. I mean, I got to say, this is probably the best Dallas team I've seen since they actually won the Cup, the days of Brett Hull and the infamous goal where his foot was in the crease, and there was that whole rule that was really horrible that year. But so the Stars are up 2-1 against Vegas. I really want to point out that I think last night we saw Robin Lehner perhaps face an injury that I'm not sure he'll be able to bounce back from. It happened late in the third period for anybody who was watching. He went down to make a save, turned into 2 saves that really didn't need to be made because the clock had run out. He ended up stacking the pads on the second. I think it was the rebound that was well past the 0 mark on the clock. And it looked like he tweaked something. He looked like he was grimacing, looked like he hurt his leg, had a bit of a hard time getting up. And as a result, overtime and 31 seconds in, Radulov comes in on his off wing and it was a great placed wrist shot. I don't think any goalie would have really had an easy save on it. But what looked like should have maybe been a little more of a routine save ended up going in the net and beating Leonard Blocker's side. Now, Leonard did look pretty uncomfortable even attempting to make the save. Looked like he may have tweaked something when he went down, so I'm not sure he'll be back to a full capacity tomorrow night. And if he is, whether or not this is going to impact him, because I honestly think that was a really big reason why he wasn't able to comfortably attempt to even make that save last night. So as a result, they lost in overtime. They're down 2-1 in the series. Not over yet by any means. That series, I think, is still going to end up going to 7 games. So depending on how it goes tomorrow night and when they confirm their starters, as of right now, it is expected that Robin Lehner will get the start and Khudobin will be in net for Dallas. However, that could change very easily. Nothing's been confirmed as of yet. With respect to the Eastern Conference final that we've got going on in the next half hour, Vasilevsky is obviously getting the start for Tampa, and Varlamov is in net for the Isles. Now, this game tonight, I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be, because I feel like the Islanders, they've definitely got something to prove. They're going to come out shooting and probably on all cylinders. I don't think they're going to sit back and get less than 10 shots in a period. That seems to have been something this year that we've seen a lot in the playoffs with, even yesterday, I think the first period, 4 shots on net. This is something I'm used to seeing as a Leaf fan. With all the offensive power they have, to see a team not have more than at least 10 shots on net is a little frustrating. Doesn't make any sense when you're at that level, especially in a playoff game, and in this case, conference finals. So I feel like the Islanders have to come out hard. They've got to come skating hard, and they basically got to get on the board early on. Now, they did score the first goal of the game in the last game, but it was Matt Martin. So you know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's Jordan Eberle or somebody bigger of a goal scorer, Anders Lee. It's when Matt Martin scores your opening goal in a playoff game, not the best result you want. And in fact, the rest of the team didn't really show up for that period. But we'll see what happens tonight with that game again scheduled to start at 8 o'clock. I have a feeling it's going to be a double overtime game. It's not going to be a blowout. It's going to be one of those games that's going to drag on. And we won't see a winner until late in the game. I'm going to say a 3-3 tie going into overtime. And the Islanders are going to win this game tonight. That's my thoughts. We'll see what Daniel has to say later on when he joins us. Just skipping over to a comment here. Daniel's joining us from wherever he is right now, and he says Killorn is suspended too. I missed that. I wasn't aware that he was suspended, so that is definitely going to be playing an impact into that game tonight. I'm just trying to look up what happened there. Alex Killorn. So Braden Point is apparently also questionable for tonight. So this is interesting. The suspension to Killorn is for boarding on Brock Nelson. I saw the hit. It was a boarding call. I'm not sure that it warranted a suspension, which is why I had no idea that this is why he was being suspended. I mean, just looking at it again. Yeah, I mean, it was a clear hit from behind. Probably shouldn't have happened. I wouldn't see why this would warrant a suspension. But so he's out for Tampa. Braden Point is questionable. I'm trying to find out if whether or not that's been confirmed, because Braden Point has been a huge part of this team so far. So with him being out of the lineup, that'll be a game changer. That'll almost definitely make it a more achievable victory for the Islanders. So that'll be interesting. And Daniel has just confirmed that Braden Point is actually out. So with those two out of the lineup, I'm not sure this game's going to go to overtime. I think it may be a 4-2 Islanders win. Tampa Bay is going to score first to get on the board, and the Isles are going to take this game. Wow. That changes things. Still no word on Steven Stamkos making a return. I personally don't think he's going to come back. Even if he is cleared to play by doctors, I don't think they're going to put him in the lineup for the simple reason that why mess with the lines and risk damaging something that isn't broken. We saw the Leafs do it when they took Nick Robertson out of the lineup in the playoffs to reinsert Andreas Janssen, who hadn't played a game since February. They put him back in the lineup, and he was absolutely ineffective and probably in one of the worst games that he's played as a Leaf in a game that they really needed to win. So I don't think Tampa's coaching staff is going to make that type of a mistake. As much as they'd love to have their captain back on the ice, I feel like even as a captain, you kind of got to step back and say, do I come back and try to play the hero, or do I sit back and be the guy that realizes I've been out of the lineup for this long? Unless they really need me, I'll sit here and sit tight and wait. Because I think that by rushing him back into the lineup, you're only risking re-aggravating the injury and breaking the team's chemistry. They've been doing just fine without him. Not to knock on Stamkos, he's a fantastic player, phenomenal player, but I think you need to know when the right time is. And I mean, if it was earlier on in the playoffs, absolutely put him in. But with it being now, and again, even riding into the finals, which is looking very likely they'll be going to, rushing him back it doesn't make any sense. So there's no point in putting him in. And Daniel has just confirmed that as well. Stamkos will not play in this round as well. So just as I expected. And I don't see him playing the next round either. Again, unless, for example, Braden Point goes down and he's going to be out for a while, one of their biggest producers, then okay, makes sense. Bring Stamkos back in, maybe help spark what they'll be losing in Braden Point being out. So it'll be interesting. I honestly think that this could be the turning point for the Islanders if they take advantage of tonight, or if they end up losing tonight and Tampa takes this as a stepping stone for some of their other guys to step up and, outperform the Islanders without Braden Point in the lineup and without Killorn in there, then that'll probably just take the wind out of the sails of the Islanders and pretty much seal the deal for Tampa. So with a game left after tonight, if they go up 3-0, they have a chance to sweep. I'm pretty sure they'll come out and take that series home without hesitation. So tonight's going to be a big one. It'll be a crucial point for both teams. Not necessarily going to be a swaying point per se, but the Islanders need to win this game regardless of who's in the lineup or not. So they got a little better news for themselves tonight. So that's it'll be beneficial to them, that's for sure. On my own here, so I'm going to still go ahead with this segment with who wins the cup 5.0. If I had to pick an East and West, I would say Tampa and Vegas. I'm still thinking Vegas is going to be coming out of that series over Dallas. But then again, after watching the game last night, I feel like Dallas they're getting better as every game goes on. It feels like they're getting better. So watching the way they're playing, and Radulov is just having an amazing playoff series with them too. So I think if they're 2-1 Dallas, if Dallas goes up 3-1, Vegas is not coming back. It's over. That's my thought on that. But I feel the Knights are going to tie the series at 2, and then they'll bounce back and forth. I think it's still going to go 7, but that next game is going to be what determines the outcome there, in my opinion. Mr. President has joined us, says Dope Hat. Yep, Game 7 tonight, representing the Raptors. Celtics Game 7 goes down at 9 o'clock. I'm not sure if anybody watched Game 6 at all, but it was probably one of the most exciting games I've seen since last season's playoff run for the Raptors. It felt really nice to see players tweeting and posting on social media about how amazing Kyle Lowry played and how that was one of the most entertaining games they've seen so far in the playoffs. And I think everybody's going to be watching Game 7. I feel there's going to be a lot of tempers flaring tonight because as Game 6 ended last game, there was already a little bit of a confrontation on the court between, I forget his first name, but I believe his last name is Smart. Really don't like that guy. And Gasol and how he tripped and fell and whatnot. So it'll be a nice game. Definitely one you got to watch if you're into basketball, if you're not into basketball, whatever the case may be. People in Toronto, we've got nothing else to watch. The Jays are doing great, but that season's a lot longer. So tonight's do or die for the Raps. So let's go Raps. Daniel's got some more news here. Kings just signed Sean Walker to a 4-year, $11 million deal. So signings are happening. So, I mean, I wanted to touch base with this in a bit because we also had some important dates released. Basically, they released the... Let me just pull that up here for you guys. So we know that free agent frenzy begins October 9th, and the draft is October 6th and 7th. So we know that at that point, everybody waiting for Lafreniere and where he's going to end up. So that's happening October 6th and 7th. 2 days later, it's go time. And we think that I think everybody's anticipating this is going to be one of the craziest free agencies in a very long time as a result of COVID and contracts and schedules and how this season plays into next season. And I believe the plan is still to resume play after the playoffs. The last I heard was January. I'm hoping they start sooner than that, but I can understand and I can appreciate that they may have no choice but to wait until January. So between October 9th, when free agency opens up and whenever the season starts back up, I guess, we are going to see a lot of people move. I think a lot of big names are going to be moved. I had a question here was who's leaving, who's staying put, who will be the busiest team. I think all teams will be pretty busy. There's always that one or two teams that pretty much stand pat and just stick with what they've got, feeling comfortable and confident that they have what it takes to continue and get to where they got to get to next season. With the season potentially being shortened as well, unless they play it out, there is the unknown as to when the trade deadline happens this year. So that's going to play into consideration as well. That's a lot of things we got to look at into thinking, how long do teams have to set that team up to win? How much time do they have to make that team what they want it to be to make another run for the playoffs? So with my Leafs, I feel they've got to make, I love how I call them my Leafs, but with our beloved Maple Leafs, they need to make a few changes. Definitely. Everybody knows they've got to answer the big question on who do they put at that blue line to solve their very big defensive woes. In addition to that, there's other teams looking for pieces that the Leafs may have that can better assist them in their problems. I feel like the Leafs could have trade partners with Philadelphia, potentially with Detroit, maybe St. Louis, depending on who's being moved and who's being shopped around. From the Leaf standpoint, I have a feeling we may see potentially, depending on offers and what's out there, there's a good chance that the rumors have already started about Wayne Simmons coming to Toronto on $1 million deal. I'm kind of on the fence about that. He does answer a physical question as to how do the Leafs get tougher. He definitely brings a physical game. Now, it would come at a cost of likely losing Kyle Clifford. So I'm not sure how I feel about Kyle Clifford yet because he did have a good season. It was an okay season. I wish we saw more physical play out of him more consistently than when we did. He did make a few big hits. He's got a good hockey sense. He plays well. Wayne Simmons, I think, brings. It's like he's coming to play for his hometown team, so he kind of brings a different feel and a different motivation to come and play. I think he's gotten to a point where he knows his career is kind of at a point where there's a certain niche market for players like him, and Toronto could use that type of a player. There is something about him, though, that was brought up to me last week that if you ever watch Wayne Simmons skate and play, he's got a weird presence. It's almost like he looks lanky, or he looks like one of those like marionette dolls where he's being controlled by strings. And I watched a bunch of his fight highlights, and I got to say, he does fight a lot, but he doesn't win a lot. So not that fighting is coming back anytime soon, or if it's part of the game. I know a lot of people say that it's pretty much out and there's no point in looking for a fighter. But I feel like if he's going to drop the gloves and lose, it may counter what the team needs out of a player to win a fight. So you got to look at it as if you're going to boost your team or give them a little bit of a spark, you got to win that fight. If you drop the gloves and you lose the fight, it's kind of, there was no point. So it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up, if it even happens. Again, rumors, this is the time of the year where that happens. I wouldn't mind seeing him. I would love for the Leafs to be able to keep Clifford if they get Simmons in as well. But again, money is a big problem this year for a lot of teams, but the Leafs are a little bit handcuffed when it comes to that. Daniel says Simmons is an old school guy, but he gets caught half the time now sleeping. Yeah, I can see that too. He's not as alert as he used to be. He's not as quick. But again, I'm not sure how he'd fit in with Toronto's play because Toronto's got a lot of speed, so he doesn't need to be the quickest guy on the ice. I think he just needs to play that physical game, that shutdown game, which I think he's pretty good at. But the problem is, can he keep up with the other team's fast skaters? That's where it becomes a problem. So if they can manage to find a solution there, I'm not sure that Wayne Simmons is the only option they've got. That's the name that's been brought up. I know previously there was the potential of Alex Pietrangelo coming, or not necessarily Toronto, but being on the move. And I don't think that's happening anymore after the Blues moved Jake Allen. So it looks like they've now freed up enough money to be able to make a move to hold on to and extend Pietrangelo, which would keep him in St. Louis probably for long term. With goaltending being an issue as well, and not just for the Leafs, I think with a lot of teams looking for goalies, it's going to be an interesting season as well. We do have some of the names to highlight in free agency and goaltending. Robin Lehner is one. Now, last week, the Golden Knights advised that they are going to be looking to extend Lehner long-term once the playoffs are done. So I don't think his performance moving forward is going to make an impact on that. I think they're going to look to sign him and hold on to him over Fleury, which means Fleury's more than likely on the move. And I'm not sure if Fleury becomes an option or what he might be looking for from a payday perspective. But there's guys like Braden Holtby out there who are also available. But again, he may command anywhere between 5-6 million, maybe more. Who knows? So it'll be interesting. But some of the big names coming up in free agency until things are confirmed right now is Pietrangelo still out there. He was making 6.5 million last season. He's 30 years old, solid defender, Stanley Cup ring. I feel like he's he's going to be sought after. And a lot of times you do see captains get moved by their teams at this point in their career. So they may potentially look for a sign and trade because I can't see them just letting him walk. So I'd love to see him in a Leaf jersey. I mean, who wouldn't, right? But it all depends again on money. So the Leafs do have money freed up after making the moves they made. And I feel like they can make a splash. Now they got to be very careful because they also got a goaltending issue with, do they keep Anderson? Do they let him go? He's going into his contract season, so he may have the season of his life because he knows he needs to play well. Or he just may continue what he was doing. And not that he was playing bad, but unfortunately, no matter how good he plays, those numbers are going to hang over his head. 0-8 when it matters most. So it sucks. Looking at some other free agencies available in the offseason, we've also got Taylor Hall. He's another guy who's pretty much become a trade deadline move or a free agency pickup everywhere. So now he's free agent. He was making $6 million, 28 years old, playing in Phoenix or Arizona, and a lot of questions here is where does he go? I'm starting to wonder, is he the problem? Is there a problem with him getting along with other players? Is he one of those guys that feels like he's got to be the superstar anywhere he goes? I know he was really sour with how things ended in Edmonton for him, and then moving on from New Jersey and then ending up in Arizona. So I feel like he might end up on a team for some reason like Detroit. They're rebuilding. They need some experience, but still young experience. And I feel like Taylor Hall would be a great acquisition for them. And I think he would also fit in really well because he'd probably be looked at as one of the leaders on the team. And at the age of 28, he could be beneficial to a lot of the young guys on that team. And it could also help him find his game again. Because again, he's only 28 years old. He shouldn't be on a downfall anytime soon. So he'd be a great pickup for them. Another one here, the Wild have acquired Nick Bjugstad. Again, see, like there's players getting picked up steady, and I don't have time to keep tickers up, but thank you, Daniel, for keeping me informed here as we go. Torrey Krug, another one available from Boston. He was making $5.25 million, also 28 years old. He brings a lot to the game. I mean, we as a Leaf fan, I got to see a lot against Krug, and he's one of those players that's a thorn in your side and tends to score goals when he needs to. Almost like a Kadri, but not the Kadri we saw this year. I mean, the Kadri we saw this year in the playoffs especially was unreal for Colorado, but man, I miss that guy. I wish there was a way to bring him back. So that Wild acquiring Nick Bjugstad ended up being for a conditional pick to the Penguins. Great move for both. And I think we're going to see a lot of picks get moved as well. So the order that we saw, because it's such a deep draft, those probably top 15 picks are going to carry a lot more value than your usual top 15 picks every other year. So with a draft this deep, I think with the Leafs even having a pick now in that deal they made when they moved Kapanen into Pittsburgh, it gives them a shot at making a move where they can include that pick if it's going to bring something good in return, or they hold on to it and hope for something good to keep developing the team. So as discussed earlier, Robin Lehner also available, making $5 million, 29 years old. I would definitely, as if I was ever Leafs GM, make that an option for the team, because bringing a guy like him in, I think, would be really good. Because I don't think playing the cards Montreal played would make sense. But even before Jake Allen, $10 million tied into Carey Price, I don't care what anybody says. No goalie in the league is worth that kind of money, especially when you look at where Carey Price is right now. You're paying $10 million for a guy to golf. Whereas you look at the teams that are still in the playoffs, I'm sorry, Igor, their goalies were way less. So that'll be another one that I think in the next 2 years, I think Carey Price is no longer a Montreal Canadian. I might be wrong, but we'll see. Tyson Barrie, I have no words. Tyson Barrie was a complete letdown. Colorado won that deal now that I look at it. I think a lot of people were hoping that Kadri would not have had the run that he did with Colorado so that they could justify the move. But unfortunately, the Leafs lost that deal. I think this is going to be, at this point, I'm going to say this was Kyle Dubas's most regretted mistake. I understand the reason he felt they needed to move Kadri. I was one of the people to say it too. He needed to go. It wasn't working out. it sucks because what we got back was Kerfoot, who's he's okay, but Tyson Berry was supposed to be an upgrade on defense, and not even close. Half the time he looked lost out there. I don't know, between him and Cody Ceci, it's two defensemen that I really could care less where they end up as long as it's not in a Leaf jersey. So he's on the market, ranked at number 5 is available. Maybe he'll play better somewhere else, but Colorado got rid of him for a reason, and I think the Leafs should be doing the same thing. Another goalie, Jacob Markstrom for Vancouver, $3.67 million against the cap hit, 30 years old. He played pretty good for them, so this might be another goalie option to think of. I mean, you're not going to give him $5 million, so if you can lock this guy in for 3.75, even if you got to go 4 or 5 between him and Jack Campbell, for example, in Toronto, I think the Leafs could make something work with him. So it wouldn't be such a bad idea to look at that as an option as well. You're shaving money off the goalie salaries, and now you give yourself a little more room to play with. So especially with Thatcher Demko coming up big for Vancouver, I can see them debating moving Markstrom. So, not re-signing Markstrom. Mike Hoffman becomes available out of Florida. He had a pretty good season this year. He was making 5.1875 last season, 30 years old. I don't see him making more money than that, and maybe getting a 3-4 year deal somewhere, but I don't see him being, we don't need wingers in Toronto, but someone's going to be looking for him. Braden Holtby, $6.1 million last season, 30 years old, solid goalie, proven goalie, again, another Stanley Cup winner. So this is somebody that if the Leafs have a chance to, wheel and deal with, and if they can keep him at within that range salary wise, or maybe even a little bit less than that, this would be a solid pickup. And I think people might argue it. A lot of people love Freddie Anderson. I like Freddie Anderson. I don't love him. I don't see him winning a cup with Toronto at any point. Could be a mental thing. Could be it's his own game. He hasn't been able to focus. Could be the whole thing that, again, the defense, right? If it's not there, the goalie only has so much he can do. So Braden Holtby, I think, would be a really good option as well. A little more expensive than the other guys available out there, but a proven starter. And again, I will go back on, I think having tandem goalies is more effective than looking at having a starter / backup combination. At number 10, they've got ranked Evgeny Dadonov from Florida, making $4 million, 30 years old. I don't know enough about him, but I know he's a winger, and the Leafs have enough of those, so we don't need any more. Tyler Toffoli, he is available. I believe I saw a comment on him. Daniel made earlier. Canucks and Toffoli, goal is to get a deal done together as well. They'd be crazy not to try. He was at $4.6 million. Again, a winger, 27 years old, had a great season. He says here he had a down year in 2018, 2019 with 34 points he was playing for the Kings, who weren't doing too well either. So him being moved over to Vancouver, I think, helped him out a lot and put him in a better position as well for a potential extension with them. Michael Granlund is another one, 27 years old, $5.75 million. Again, he could play center or the wing. Played with Nashville. Good pickup, not for Toronto. TJ Brody, defenseman, Calgary, 29 years old, $4.65 million. I liked Brody, and at one point I feel like I would have loved to have him when the Leafs had Phaneuf, and maybe him be the guy that besides the fact that they played together, but even have him be the guy to take a little more off of Phaneuf's ice time. I think Phaneuf's biggest problem in Toronto was A, giving him the C, and B, giving him too much ice time every night. So he's a solid, 3-4, maybe even a 5-6 defenseman, but the Leafs were using him and trying to utilize him as a number one on like a 1-2 punch combo, and it wasn't working for him. I don't think Dion Phaneuf excelled as a result, because when he was in Calgary, I thought he was an awesome defenseman. I was actually really excited when the Leafs got him, and then it just didn't work out. I mean, he threw his body around, he played a physical game, but from the defending standpoint and the amount of times he got caught, and boy, he can't skate. But anyways, it was painful to watch him at times because he got caught at the worst times against Boston in the worst games possible, and it was just became repetition, and it happened so often to the point where it's like, okay, you got to go, and he's gone. So TJ Brody, I think, would be a good addition to the team, especially if he can come within that range again, 4.65. You got to give him 5 million, whatever. I mean, we got some money to play with in Toronto. They can make it happen. Again, I'm only basing these picks based on the Leafs making moves. I'm sure Daniel will add his 2 cents when he gets back with his Flyers looking for players too, because I know they'll be looking to make some moves as well. Travis Hamonic, another defenseman the Leafs had looked at last year, 29 years old, had a 3.857 cap hit last year. I feel like Calgary's going to try whatever they can to keep him there. I don't think they're just going to let him go. But I'm not sure how much money Calgary's got to tie into defensemen right now. Again, you've also got Brody you got to look at, right? So they're in a little bit of a cap crunch themselves. Another defenseman available, Sami Vatanen, that the Leafs had also been tied to for the last 2 years, at least. Carolina, 28 years old, 4.875 million. I did a little research on him last year when it was really rumored that he was coming to Toronto, and it was between him and Tanev, I think. And I wouldn't mind Vatanen. He throws his weight around as well. But I don't know. I'm not sure where he's going to go. If Carolina decides to keep him, they may very well try at least. It's quite possible. He's still got time and lots of hockey to play. Khudobin, another goalie, Dallas Stars, 34 years old, 2.5 million. Wow, what a steal. 2.5 million. He is playing lights out for Dallas right now in the playoffs. 34 years old. Just goes to show you don't need to be young and flexible as a goalie. Goalies, some of them tend to get better as they get older. Look at Dominik Hasek for one. Eddie Belfour, they both played some of their best hockey in their older years. And we're talking new age, because I mean, if you could look at Johnny Bauer as well, who was like 100 when he was playing. But Khudobin would be a great pickup at 2.5 million. The guy's going to get a raise guaranteed at this point, regardless how Dallas does. But if they go to the finals and if they win the cup, he's probably staying in Dallas. They'll do whatever they can to keep him there. So that also answers the question of, could that mean Ben Bishop becomes available? He's been unfit to play. Never really know what's going to happen there. So there's a lot of goalies out there. Again, Corey Crawford, Chicago, 35 years old, $6 million though. I'm not sure. He's obviously not Khudobin. He's not playing the same way, but I feel like the same things could apply to both goalies when it comes to teams looking for older, more experienced goalies to come into play. He won a cup in Chicago. Great goalie. Not sure he's worth the $6 million range, but he's definitely a goalie that can take you to beyond the first round of the playoffs. He's got the experience. He's got the size. He's a good goalie. He's played for good teams. You know what I mean? So, again, another option to consider depending on the price. Ilya Kovalchuk is 36 years old and still plays sometimes like he's 25, making only $700,000 last year with Washington. Been hearing strong rumors that there may be a return to Montreal. I know they really enjoyed having him there. He had a pretty good run with them the short time he was there. It was more of a rental player over to Washington. Igor, if you're watching, how do you feel about that? Do you feel that there's room for Kovalchuk back in Montreal? Would you take him back? I feel like he's one of those guys that can still play. He's got it in him. He's almost like a Yager. He can play probably till he's 45. And even after that, he's going to be like, a ringer in a beer league somewhere in Russia. But at 700,000, he'll probably take that same money again next year. And maybe he's just going to keep bouncing around year by year and just take 700K a year just to keep playing and hope for another cup. Or to win one, you know what I mean? So he's out there. Eric Halla, Florida Panthers left winger, 28 years old, 2.75 million. This guy played so well in Vegas. He was one of those, left unprotected, picked up by Vegas, and he played really well for them. Now I'm not sure where he fits in now. So 2.75 million. I feel like Florida might try to re-sign him. Who knows? But he's out there. He's available. Wayne Simmons, Buffalo Sabres. We already talked about that. 31 years old, 5 million. He's more than likely going to take a pay cut no matter where he goes. And if it ends up being in Toronto, I can see him getting maybe a 2.5. They're saying there's rumors that it'll be $1 million contract. I mean, hey man, if he's willing to do that, go for it by all means. I'd be a-okay with that. Kevin Shattenkirk, Tampa Bay, 31 years old, 1.75 million. Not too bad. I feel like there was more opportunity for him to make money a few years back when he left St. Louis. But I feel like he went downhill, and I know that the Leafs were also looking at him a few years back, and I was kind of happy they didn't get him because he didn't turn out to be as solid as he was and as consistent as he was in St. Louis when they got him. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands at 31. I mean, the money's not bad. He could probably end up anywhere really and probably take a 1-2 year deal. But yeah, so that's the most your top 20 most notable. There are other guys looking into free agency as well. You've got Joe Thornton getting up there in age, probably going to be looking for a 1-year deal anywhere to potentially, win a cup. Be that guy that just goes in as a rental player, brings some experience, and is being a veteran. Might be an addition. Zdeno Chara slowed down drastically in his play. Some would argue they would take him. I know that Toronto fans hated playing against him. Some would say, but they'd love to have him. I'd love to have 5 years ago Zdeno Chara. I'm not sure I'd like him now because people just blow by him. He's too big now, and he's slowed down drastically with his skating. He does still have that incredible reach with that 9-foot long stick of his, but I'm not sure I would look at him as a solution on the big problem that the Leafs have, especially with the league getting faster. Chris Tanev is available again as well. Brings a bit of a physical play, as well as Alex Galchenyuk, who's available. Thomas Greiss, again. Cody Eakin, Cody Ceci in Toronto. Thankfully, don't want to see him back here. Justin Schultz, another guy that the Leafs had looked at a while back. Michael Frolik in Calgary again. Nemesnikov is going to be available potentially. May resign in Ottawa, may move on. Eric Gustafson in Chicago. Patrick Maroon in Tampa Bay. He's one of those guys that's just been that rental player, veteran add-on, and he does what he does. You know what I mean? Like he's effective. You put him out there, he'll do what he's got to do. He plays a smart game. Zach Bogosian available. Kyle Clifford, as I mentioned earlier. Radko Gudas from Washington. Another big body I wouldn't mind having, but I'm just not sure speed-wise he's there. Justin Williams, I know Daniel and I were talking earlier, and he had mentioned the potential of Philadelphia looking at him in a move. And my biggest one that I'm not sure if he's going to come back to play or not, Dustin Byfuglien. Even with a year off, that's the guy I wish the Leafs would somehow be able to snag and bring to Toronto. Because he took a year off, I think he knows he can't demand a high amount of money. I mean, he can ask for it, but I can't see him having the expectations of making top caliber defenseman money, considering his age and missing an entire season and where he's at with respect to his injuries and whatever kept him out. So he hasn't officially retired. There was rumors that he was going to be announcing that at the end of the season or at the end of the deadline last year, but that was never announced. So he's another guy that might be available out there. I would love to have him in Toronto. He brings the big body, tough hitting defenseman, blocking shots, scoring goals, gets the job done. You can utilize him as a stay-at-home defenseman and even as a quarterback on a power play if you really wanted to, as a different thing to try. For example, in the Leafs power play, where everybody knows you're going to drop that puck to Marner and have Marner skated in and freeze everybody at the line. I hate that move, but that seems to be their go-to. So Dustin Byfuglien brings a different potential to this team. I would love him in Toronto. So hopefully that ends up being the one that comes here. And again, that'd be cheap. So those are some of the key names that highlight free agency this year. Who knows where half these guys end up? I mean, that's quite an impressive line of available players coming up in free agency. So hopefully the Leafs don't sit there and wait for something that doesn't happen, and hopefully they make a move that actually changes his team in a positive way. So that's that when it comes to my views on free agency and what I think is going to happen. Now, the 8 o'clock game has started. Just going to take a quick peek. And it's still 0-0. So I was anticipating an early goal in, and I mean, it's still in the first minute of play. So that one's getting underway right now. Just trying to see if there was any changes last minute prior to puck drop. So Vasilevsky, Varlamov are your two goalies, and that's all I can see so far. Yeah, that's it. So that game's underway. If you're looking for some fun hockey, I think it's going to be a good game to watch tonight, because if the Islanders lose, they'll have no excuse. They've got a really good bonus in two key players out of the lineup for Tampa Bay. And if they can beat Vasilevsky early on and hold on to that lead, I think they can do fine. But yeah, we'll see. In the meantime, I'm going to get this game up and running, and I will have something for you guys to see. If you haven't checked us out, guys, All Everything Entertainment, we're on all levels of social media. Check it out. So there you have it again. We are online at alleverythingentertainment.com. You can catch us, see all our articles, podcasts. We've got a full lineup of podcasts available that pretty much something for everyone to watch or listen to if you want to listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, videos available on YouTube as well. Yeah, we've got it all. Hockey, wrestling, football, basketball, baseball. Like we touch base on everything pretty much on all sorts of levels. If you're into fantasy football, we've got a fantasy football league going on as well. I had to get some help today because some guy's injured on my team. I had no clue, and I made a last minute change. So glad I was led to make that change, because I would have never known and would have sucked. So yeah, we got some excellent writers on this team. Again, anything you might be interested in, just have a look on our website. Check us out on Instagram, aee.com on Instagram, aee.com on Twitter. We've got our stuff floating around all the time being published, so feel free to check us out. Trying to get this game going. And here we go. Fortunately, I'd love to share it with you guys, but I don't want to get shut down from YouTube. The YouTube police are out in full force. So it is still 0-0, 4-4 to the shots, 17 minutes remaining in the period. Looks like a pretty even game so far from what I was reading, and now just catching it live. Daniel is expected to be joining shortly. I'm not sure what time exactly. I'd love to get his input on where he sees any trades being made, any potential moves. We did have the AEE president join us here for a quick comment. The Lightning will win it all for sure. I agree there. They've got a lot of potential to make that happen. I'm just not sure about Dallas. Like if they get through Vegas, I feel like Dallas is just going to keep coming strong, and barring any major injuries, they're going to really be the tough team to beat. And for some reason, I've always found that the Western Conference teams are a little more difficult to beat, a little more physical play in the playoffs. I feel they play a different type of shutdown game. But it'll be interesting. If it's a Dallas-Tampa final, it'll be a really fun final because both teams do not shy away from charging the net to score goals. So still a long way to go. I mean, again, we've got this series is 2-0 in favor of Tampa. You got Dallas up 2-1 on Vegas. And again, I am insisting that is going 7 games. This series here, if it drags to 7 games, will be amazing because this is some really good hockey. I feel like Tampa, they've been the better team, but I feel like the Islanders kind of screwed up in the last game with giving up the lead and just trying to play catch up. So it was a little bit harder for them to do that. They can't leave guys open. You can't leave Kucherov wide open. And, in the case of the Dallas game last night, Radulov came in on his off wing. It was a great pass, a heads up pass that was made to him. I don't think anybody even saw him joining the rush, but he took off and was not slowing down. So it was a great play from beginning to end. And then that snipe was just unreal. It was a great shot off the post. Again, not sure Leonard was at his full capability to make that save, but I think it would have been a tough one anyways because it looked like it buckled him either way. I think he was expecting it to hit his blocker, and it beat him clean. But yeah, so Tampa coming out as the winners out of this game, then I don't see it going to 7. So right now they're playing a pretty even back-to-back. They're going back and forth, both teams, exchanging chances. Nothing really crazy at this point, no huge chances, but both goalies seem to be pretty comfortable and getting warmed up with this because I've seen some chances on both sides already that could have potentially been goals. So it'll be a pretty good game. I'm going to look at let me just see here. Just for entertaining purposes, I will not mention the site. I'm just going to give you guys some fun rumors that are out there in the hockey world. So we do know that Pittsburgh did make that move with Minnesota for Nick Bjugstad. Apparently Pittsburgh is not done. They've got a lot more moves to make. What else we got here? Leafs apparently need to make some offseason decisions regarding Timothy Liljegren. I don't think we've seen enough of him to determine whether or not they'd move him. Now, if again it turns into bringing an established stay-at-home defenseman who can play physical and who can play defense, I would move Liljegren if that's what the price is. I do definitely think I'd keep Sandin over Liljegren only because Sandin's already established. He's NHL ready. He knows what he's doing. Not to knock on Liljegren, but I think again, if you're going to bring a good player in, you're going to have to be prepared to pay a price to lose a good player. No one's going to give you their, better player for your not so good players. Like you're not going to get a top defenseman for Cody Ceci. So if it comes at a cost of Liljegren, as long as it's bringing in a solid defender, that's a move that I would probably make. What else? Ottawa apparently may be pretty busy. Supposedly an interesting story here. There's some controversy amongst the coaches and how much money they're making. And Daniel has joined us. Welcome, sir. Not much. I was just looking at an interesting story that there's a controversy in Ottawa about how much money the goalies or the coaches are making.
Yep.
Drama behind the bench there. So where were you? You had your son's football practice, was it, or a game?
Yeah, because Labor Day, usually it's on Monday, but they did it tonight.
Right.
So forgot
about that. So we went through some of these trades. Thank you for keeping us up to date while you were away, because as I was reading some of these rumors, you were actually talking about some of the trades that went along really well. So it worked out really good.
That was a good use.
Yeah. So we'll go back to some of the things we discussed. So I'm still kind of toss up between the the Lightning and the Knights winning the cup. What are your thoughts there?
Right now, I got the Stars winning it.
Dallas.
I just
Yeah,
feel
I like
like
Dallas.
I feel like they're on a good run right now. It looks like they're finally getting Elysiak playing well
Yep.
along with the group. Kadubin has been pretty decent in goal. He hasn't been giving up that much. Their defense has been playing well. Usually, all their games are low scoring, except for last series, which, as expected, playing the Avalanche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be I was just saying how I think if Dallas wins that series and they have enough time to kind of rest after it while this one goes on, I think Dallas is going to be that team that's going to be really difficult to stop because they're going to be riding an incredible high. But again, looking at this series and how it's going right now, if Tampa takes a 3-0 lead, I give the Islanders one game most if they don't get swept.
Yeah, and then not to change the subject, but they just announced Nate McKinnon who won the Lady Bingo Trophy for, I guess, the sportsmanship.
Yep.
And they just announced that 20 minutes ago.
Right on. And I believe yesterday they announced, was it yesterday? Did they announce Coach of the Year as well?
They announced this. They announced,
coach, right?
I believe so. And then they announced Selke, and then they announced the Selke Award for the best offensive defender.
Yeah.
Which went to Couturier. And right now, the game's still 0-0 between the Lightning and the Ironers.
Yeah, that game's still tied at zeros. So we talked about some moves and trades and the draft. So we know the date for the draft is October 6th and 7th between then.
Yeah.
And then free agency frenzy begins October 9th. So I was just discussing who's coming, who's going, who's staying. Which team do you think is going to be the busiest? So what's your take on this? I know you had mentioned earlier that Philly might be making a move or probably a few moves maybe. There's a lot of goalies. I was going through the list, and there's quite a few goalies out there that are going to be available as well.
And then the first thing I want to get into, I know we kind of dove into it a little bit last week, but the expansion team, the Seattle Kraken, looks like they're not coming until next year.
Yeah, next year.
Because they want to get that full exposure of the new arena with fans. Something in football that the Rams and the Chargers won't get right away, but within comparison. But so you're going to have a lot of different moves being made now because teams thought that they were going to have to hold on to certain players and let players go. But now they have another year to think about that. So they might be able to keep somebody that initially they thought they were going to have to put up and possibly get taken. So I think a lot of teams might be going to like a plan B now, like fluctuating what they were going to do, what they're going to do now, and then having to plan that with what they'll have to do next year. But I know for the Flyers' sake, I think you have to consider this offseason what you're going to do with Claude Giroux now. This is the third straight year. I know he's the captain. He's played great for the franchise, but this is the third straight year where they've made the playoffs, and he's been a no-go production-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to come to a point where it's like you're paying a guy just to play in the regular season and not the playoffs. You want him to show up in the playoffs, and then it came out in the news around here that Konecny was hurt, and that's why he wasn't playing to his capability. Of course, Couturier was playing hurt, and then you got to also think about the future, thinking about what you're going to do with Carter Hart, like how much longer are you going to have until you actually have to sign him? You might want to start putting money away for him. And to me, I think you have to reconsider getting rid of Claude Giroux, and then maybe see what you can do with Jacob Voracek. Like, I really like him, but what we lack on the team is a sniper. As you can see, when you look at our power play, it's atrocious in the playoffs. We just kept passing the puck because everybody was too scared to shoot because we don't have a sniper. We have too many passers and not enough shooters. And that should be our number one target in free agency.
Yeah, I don't know how your defense is, but I feel like your defense isn't really a big deal. I think you guys are okay. You don't really.
Yeah, they didn't play as good as the playoffs went on, but we have a lot of young pieces with it. Like we have Philip Myers, who showed good signs. Provenov, he was playing hurt. We have Sanheim. He played well, and we still have guys down that didn't play much that probably might make the team next year. Like, Ratcliffe is a name that comes to mind. Morgan Frost, who had a little bit of taste of the team this year, but they left him off the postseason bubble roster. You're going to get Farabee to come back from playing this year. He played half of this year, and then they added him to the team for the bubble. You have Limbone, since he just came back from cancer.
Yeah, you'll get him for the full season.
You get him for the full season. Of course, Carter Hart again in goal.
I heard they were looking to move Carter Hart to Toronto for Freddie Anderson.
If it was April 1st. The April 1st deadline. If you want a defender, we can give you a defender too, to sweeten the deal.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
We'll give you Tyson Berry. He's a superstar, man. Superstar.
A deal. And then watch me win the cup.
So we have. I was looking at. There's a lot of goalies, a number of wingers. Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall's name is out there again. Does he stay in Arizona? You think he's going to get moved? Where do you think he ends up? I know if Igor was asking, he'd say Montreal, because I know that for a while his name was rumored to go to Montreal.
Yeah. He was rumored to go to Montreal. He was rumored to go back to the Devils. I heard
for a reason. I was going to say, no way. I don't think he'll ever go there.
No. But it all depends on management there, because they don't have a GM right now. Or I don't know if they hired one, but it all depends on the GM. I could see him staying if the GM wants to keep him. And then he had pretty decent success there. Mm-hmm. And with how they traded for him, you would think that they want to retain him. So it all depends on that. Like, you can bring a management in, they might want to clear house. They might want to keep as much as they want, as they can. It all depends on that.
Yeah.
It was kind of like when we got rid of Hextall and brought in the new management.
Well, Hextall is coming to Toronto.
I mean, Hextall.
Okay.
Hextall, both Hextall,
Yeah.
They got rid of Hextall, and then new management came in.
Where did he end up?
Where did he go?
I haven't heard his name in a while. Ron Hextall.
Didn't he go to Edmonton or something weird like that?
Still listed as the GM of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah. He might not be doing anything right now.
He may be.
He's with the Kings.
He went to the. Oh yeah.
He's an advisor to the hockey operations in LA.
Yeah, because prior to his moves, he had already worked in LA as an assistant GM.
The assistant GM. He made some of the moves.
So he's gone back to LA, huh?
Yeah. But they got rid of him. The new management came in, and then they decided they wanted to get rid of the bad contracts and then go with more of the youth movement, which is why I've seen all like they wanted to bring up Carter Hart because Hextall was a fan of letting them grow through the minors. For a couple of years, them bringing him up. That's why you saw Carter Hart play like each year he moved up to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And then even though he only played half of it, probably a couple months for the Phantoms, he still had that little bit of experience.
And he also had a great Olympic run too.
Yeah.
Or not Olympic run, the juniors.
Yep. And then I think right now he's listed as the favorite for Team Canada to be the
goalie. For sure. Hands down. Hands down. And Igor, I know you're watching, but Carey Price is not going to be Canada's goalie. I think Carey Price has lost his role as Canada's goalie. Canada is on the Carter Hart train.
Yeah. I wouldn't see why not unless they gave
him unless he has a downfall. The guy is unreal.
Oh, yeah. Like the way that he was when he came here, they said that like because he was so young, it was like a cultural shock to him. They're living in the city. Like I think they said he lives right off of South Street or something like that. Like he has an apartment. Like he didn't know how to order a bunch of things, and then he had
he's only 22 years old, man.
Yeah, and when he came, I think when he came up, he was 19 or 20.
Yeah, and he was born in Sherwood Park, Alberta, which is not, it's not like he was in Toronto, like a big city in Alberta. It's it's a decent-sized city in Alberta, but small.
Yeah, I actually saw his second game up. Like his debut was against the Red Wings, and then me, my wife, and my stepson went to his second game, which was his first home game against the Predators, and he looked amazing just for his second game, and then we wound up winning.
His NHL numbers right now are pretty damn good. 74 games played. He's got 40 wins, 26 losses, 4 overtime. Now, those are 74 starts, I believe, so those numbers are a little bit skewed because he didn't start all of them. He started 70, so he came into a few extra games. But
I think he only played 20 games last year, and then he played majority of this year.
Yeah, last year he I don't see his numbers here. I'm just looking at his numbers this year. But this year he played he went 24-13. And then he played pretty damn solid in the playoffs. So do you guys have him signed long term?
No. I think Carter Hart's only making $750,000 right now.
There's a steal.
Let me look down because I think he signed for another year, which is why I would think that they would need to consider.
Carter Hart is.
Here it is.
He's RFA next season. Currently making $730,000. What a joke.
Yeah, well, he made $700,000 this year. Next year. This upcoming year, he's going to be making $750,000, and then in 2021, 2022, he'll be a restricted free agent, which he'll get.
Did something change? Because I'm on CapFriendly.com and it shows he's an RFA next season.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. 2021, 2022, he's a restricted free agent.
Yeah, so that's it. This is his last season.
Well, you mean this season coming up?
Yeah, currently. Yeah. Coming up. Yeah.
It will be his last season. Yeah. And then the first year with the Seattle Kraken, that would be his.
Oh, you guys are also stuck, though, because Brian Elliott is a UFA this year.
Yeah, which they're most likely let him walk, and then I do know we have another goalie in the system that's playing well. I'm not sure how far he is. Like in the past couple of years, the Flyers have stocked up their system very well compared to what it was 4 years ago before Hextall took over, where we had nothing. Now we have a lot, and then we still have. I know we just drafted last year. We drafted was it Cam York, so he at defenseman. So we got a lot of defensemen in the system.
Wow, you guys you don't have too many worries from the looks of it. Yeah, you don't got anybody in your team making over 10 million, so you guys are pretty smart.
Yeah, I think
my team.
I'm here to see if the cat friendly.
Leafs have 3 guys making over 10.
Yeah, the highest is Giroux, and he's making 8.2.
Oh yeah,
Just above Voracek, and they're both 32 and 31. We got Thompson, Grant, and Pitlick as unrestricted free agents. One of the moves they need to do is re-sign Nicholas Aubrey-Kubel. That needs to be one of the priorities. You got a bunch of guys making low end. How much of a steal is this? Couturier is only making $4.3 million the next 2 years, each year.
Yeah, and you guys have Kevin Hayes locked up for I think 5 more years.
Yeah, they get him for $7.14 million. We have him locked up until 2026, 2027.
So, in looking at this, the team. Oh, the Ottawa Senators have all kinds of money to play with if they can't put a team together. I don't know what's going to help them. Even Detroit, so much free space. But from a not at the bottom of the barrel team, even Colorado, $22 million in projected cap space. Now that's also with 28 out of 50 contracts. So they're going to have a lot of players become available at the end of next season. But Rantanen is their highest paid player, making 9.25. But Landeskog is done after this season at 5.5 million, and he becomes a UFA. Colorado's in trouble. I thought the Leafs were in trouble. They've got a lot of players they're going to have to pay.
Yeah, because they signed Nate McKinnon already, right?
Yeah, McKinnon's signed through to 2022-23 at 6.3 million.
They got him. I assume
6.3 million, man. That's crazy. That's good money
for McKinnon.
Yeah, like they're doing really good at only 6.3. And even did you know Dallas, Khudobin is only making 2.5 million? Their goalie.
Well, yeah, because he came in as the backup. He was supposed to be the backup coming into Bishop, and then I think Ben Bishop got hurt, and then they put him in, and they're just riding the hot hand right now.
Khudobin becomes a free agent at the end of the season too, but at 2.5 million, I'm sure they'll extend him, and he'll take even if they only offered him 4.
I'm sure if they didn't keep Khudobin, you'd be opening the floodgates for him.
Oh yeah. Vegas is in an interesting position too. They signed Mark Stone to 9.5 million until like 2027, and he's 28 years old.
They kind of had to sign him. And then for a guy that young, like if he keeps getting better,
Alex Tuck is a good steal for them. 4.75 million. He's signed to 2025-26. So they've done well with keeping some of these guys, like even William Karlsson, 5.9 straight through to 2027.
Riley Smith, $5 million for the next 2 years. Marchand they're signed into 2024 at $5 million.
Yeah, Marsh is still there. Ryan Reeves is one that I'd love to get my hands on at $1.75 million. Man, I would love to get that guy in a Leaf uniform. But them too, goalies. Fleury is signed. They're gonna have a hard time moving Fleury without eating some salary. He's making $7 million, and I'm not sure that he's sticking around.
They got Smith and Theodore all the way up until 2025.
Oh yeah, they've got a lot of long-term deals already made.
And their defense is cheap. They got a lot of cheap guys on there.
Yeah, their defensive core is making not as much. Like Derek Engelland, 38 years old. He's probably done unless he sticks around for like a really low minimum. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be, I was saying earlier, it's going to be one of the busiest, if not the busiest off-season or free agency signing ever. Just going to shoot over to some of these comments. Nick has joined us here. Colorado has a ton of young talent. Absolutely. They've got lots of it. And they've got an amazing team already set up, and even their superstars are not making crazy money. So they're set up in a really good position. Plus, yeah, they've got 2 top 10 prospects coming along. Absolutely. He says Mark Stone was a terrible signing, just like Hayes.
I disagree on the Hayes thing. I agreed at the beginning of the season. I was wondering why, but now with how he's played, he's been the bright spot on the team, and he's making less than Voracek and Giroux. And
So
he actually
he's making $3 million too much.
And then he's actually showed up in the playoffs. Hayes has been the guy that was getting players called for penalties and getting them power plays, which they didn't succeed on 90% of them. But he was the one skating around, making plays, and like setting guys up. And then
I'd like to take out of Philly. I forgot about Scott Lawton. How about that?
Yeah, I know.
$2.3 million.
A guy that was supposed to be cut at the beginning of this season, but somebody was hurt. I think it was Couturier was hurt early on, so they kept him on, and then he played well early, so he wound up staying put.
He was the breakaway king, man.
Yeah, he was probably the MVP of the team, other than Carter Hart, of course. With his, I think he had 2 goals in the exhibition. He had 3 more in the round robin, and then 3 more in the playoffs.
So Nick says, what happens in 3 years when his deal is unmovable, like Hartnell's or Clarkson? Clarkson was moved by Toronto. That was probably one of the best moves they ever made, is getting rid of that ridiculous contract. Massive. That was like, I don't know how they did it. I still don't know how they did that one.
Yeah, but this is what happens in hockey. You're never going to have a perfect team where there's no bad contracts. You're going to have to overpay at some point for a player here or there. Yeah. And they only have one right now, which is him. Like you said, the most expensive guys are Voracek and Giroux, which one has to be, to me, one has to go. I don't think you can keep both. One has to go, which my pick would be Claude Giroux, and then try and bring a sniper. And I'm actually looking, and know what team's going to be in cap hell? Boston. They're going to have a lot of moves to make.
I'm looking at the Ducks. The Ducks are in trouble.
Yeah, but next year in 2021, the Boston Bruins have 3 unrestricted free agents and 3 restricted free agents. David Krejci, Andre Case, Nick Ritchie. They got Curley, Limbone, and
I don't know who
Anton Bidet.
Oh, and then they got Brandon Carlo on defense too. Is another one. And both their goalies. Oh my goodness.
And Zdeno Chara. Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, this year's Chara, Krug, and Matt Bridge.
Yeah, this year, I mean, Chara's he's 43 years old. You know what I mean? Like he wants to stay in Boston.
Yeah.
Whatever. Give the guy that, let him retire. He's 43. I can't see him going anywhere. But next year they've got 2 goalies. I mean, Rask is 33, Halak is 35. Just under $10 million in goalies that are both UFAs at the same time. That sucks.
And didn't you say that the Ducks, which I know didn't they sign before the season started Silverberg?
The Ducks, I'm just looking at right now, they have a projected 470,000 of cap space, and at the end of the season, they'll be losing. Or 4 guys go UFA: Matt Irwin, Michael Del Zotto, Ryan Miller,
Their captain Ryan Getzlaff, David Backes.
Getzlaff still has.
Oh no! This is next year. They got.
Yeah. In 2 years, they're screwed. In 2 years, they're losing potentially a lot, and they've got a lot of
60% of their team that, after this year.
Yeah, like it's even, like the Leafs, everybody was saying the Leafs had no movement, no cap space. Right now they have a projected 6.1 million in cap space. So that Kapanen move was a big one for them. But at the end of the coming season, Kyle Clifford is a UFA, Jason Spezza, Ilya Mikheyev, Dennis Malgin, whatever, Freddie Gauthier, Evan Rodriguez, who they picked up in a move that I think he was just a roster filler, Travis Dermott, Cody Ceci, Tyson Barrie. So a lot of those guys I don't really care because they're not going to come back. But come October 9th, they're going to be busy. They got to fill these spots or they got to extend guys, and they've only got 6.1 million to do it. So either people are going to be taking pay cuts or they're going to be bringing a lot of young kids up. And I feel like Nick Robertson is going to be coming up. And he's on an entry-level contract till 2022-23, making $821. So that's fantastic considering he's only 19 years old. Goaltender-wise, I mean, Freddie's done at the end of the season. Jack Campbell's got 2 years at 1.65, which is great. I hope they keep Campbell and maybe even extend him. But they're going to be looking for their number 1, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, the Ironers are set up great. Like our other guys are like 4 years down the line. It's just the last 4 guys on the roster are up in the next couple of years, like a Martin.
He likes to compare the bad contracts to Corey Hayes, or to what's his name?
Hayes.
Hayes, yeah. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of moves. A lot of players looking for new homes. A lot of players potentially taking major discounts to stick around and play where they really want to play. Again, there is absolutely no hint on what's happening next season. Potential bubble, no bubble. They might pick, they were saying a few cities, I think 14 cities or something like that, and rotate every 14 games. So that's all up in the air. I think right now we're about to see either things blow up in Canada and the US when it comes to the whole COVID thing, with the NFL returning and how they do that. Because I noticed last night there was fans in the stadium. So they had very scattered, but there were fans in the stadium. And I know you guys had said that some teams, it's basically in each state, I guess, is going to handle it on a state-by-state basis.
Well, I do know they want to play the whole 82-game schedule. They said they want to do that. They're looking at December, January, more so December, because they're giving more time to get the schedule in. And they're hoping by then that they'll be able to do everybody's arena with travel and everything, and just have what they do now, probably no fans or a limited amount of fans.
I think hockey's going to wait until, because I think the longest the playoffs can go right now, I think, was mid-October. If things were to stretch, I think it was mid-October. I can see this not going that far. I don't think it'll stretch that far. I think whoever does make it to the finals, it'll probably be like a 5-game series. I think it'll be a 4-1. That's it. Depending on who gets there. I mean, if it's Dallas and Tampa, either one team's going to be really tired and just blow it, or they're going to go 7 games of straight awesome hockey.
By the way, it's 1-1 at the end of the first. Sergachev and Clutterbuck with goals.
Cal Clutterbuck.
Yep.
Just under 4 minutes apart. Okay, so in the shots, wow, 16-14 in the first. So both teams are playing. Like I saw in the few minutes that I was watching, they both seem to be playing back and forth hockey. No penalties so far. Pretty even game right down the middle from face-offs right through to shots are pretty close. Second period has been a big one for this series. So I think we either see floodgates open up or we see the Islanders take advantage of Tampa missing Killorn and Point.
If each game goes to Game 7 in the conference finals, the last day would be next Saturday, which would be the 19th. And then they probably have a few days off. They probably want to start like the 26th. So it would take you into like early October, I think. Like maybe like around like the 6th or 7th. Which would give you right around the time for the draft. Because they probably have it scheduled up to where the draft would happen afterwards.
Yeah.
And then you would have the draft, and then you would have like 2 months between the draft and then.
Well, that and you got to give these players a chance to go home and be with their families as well, especially if they do end up doing that 14 cities rotating. Again, one of the rumors I heard was that it could be all 14 Canadian cities, and it's like, I don't see that happening. If that happens, I think a lot of players are going to say, I'm not doing it for 82 games, not happening.
I think what they do is they drop it off, like they have the draft, and then they'd be off. There would be no practice, no nothing until after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I would even scrap exhibition games. You don't need them. I mean, they can have their own scrimmages on their own, but I don't think it needs to be a big ordeal like to promote the game. The game's big enough as it is. You don't need to promote it. So I think they should scrap any exhibition games, let the players and teams that basically scrimmage amongst themselves. If, teams where there's 2 teams within close distance want to scrimmage against each other, like the Leafs in Ottawa, New York and New York, like if they want to play quick blue and white games or back and forth, like home and away games, they can. But to televise exhibition games and make a big deal out of it, I don't think they should bother with that.
Yeah.
The players are going to need their rest at some point.
Yeah, but they go to Thanksgiving, then they come back after that weekend and maybe start like camp and get camp going. Maybe a month. Maybe do a month of camp or a couple of weeks of camp. I don't remember usually how they do that.
To be honest, I'd even consider scrapping the All-Star game. I don't like it. It's changed. It's not as fun anymore. It's boring.
Yeah, they probably they might will, but then with the money that it brings, who knows? But they might this year just because of the new fans.
And definitely get rid of all the outdoor games. There's too many. It became too much. Like I like the idea of having 1, 2, like a Winter Classic, a New Year's Classic, if you want to say, but to have that many outdoor games, I think was kind of dumb.
Well, I didn't mind what they were doing, where they had the Winter Classic, which I loved. Then they did like a heritage one where they floated around like the cold cities, and then they had the one in LA, which I thought it was neat because you would never expect them to do one in LA.
No, and that was crazy because they had beach volleyball going on right next to where they were playing hockey. It was kind of neat to see.
Yeah. So personally, I didn't like the Winter Classic anymore. I started to like the Heritage one, and then the LA one more than the Classic. And then I know this sucks because this year they want to go to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I think that would be perfect for the weather, for the COVID. Do it in Minnesota because it's cold anyway.
Like I really wanted to attend Toronto, Detroit at Ann Arbor. That was unbelievable. I've got a picture of it, and it was like the massive, like just crazy. But after I heard of so many people who did go that I know, it was chaos, and they were saying just to get out of there was madness. It took forever to get into the stadium because there were so many people. So I'm kind of glad I didn't go. I did attend the one here in Toronto in 2017, and much smaller scale. They played where Toronto FC play, and it was before renovations. They did bring in a bunch of extra portable seating and scaffolding that they set up. Freezing cold, but it was pretty awesome, and it was great because it was a much smaller stadium. So no matter where you sat, you had a pretty good view of the field of play. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool experience. Definitely something I would suggest if you ever get a chance to go out and watch it. It's fun. Catch the like I caught the day before when they had the alumni game. That's all the players I grew up watching. So that was really awesome to be a part of. I got to see, Felix Potvin and Doug Gilmore, Wendell Clark, like all the guys I grew up watching. So it was really neat to see that.
They had the one last year here because there was the.
That's right. Yeah.
Because the Flyers have done it 3 times. They did the one. They did the one in Fenway Park, which my friend actually went to that one. He traveled up there and he loved it. Then they had the one 3-4 years ago when they did it at the Phillies ballpark against the Rangers. And then they had the one last year, which was a home and home the past 2 years between the Penguins and the Flyers.
Yeah.
And I think last year was the one where they had the alumni, and it was Eric Lindros played, which was neat. Like when he first came back, and then
he's a Philadelphia favorite, right?
They honored him individually because a few years ago they honored the Legion of Doom, Redberg and Leclerc.
Yeah, that was a hell of a line.
And then I actually caught the thing the other day. They did a special on Comcast Philly on the career of Eric Lindros and him getting drafted, the whole craziness with that. And then
it was great. I remember when the Leafs got him, I was so happy because he came at a point where the team wasn't anywhere really built to succeed that much, but it was just so exciting to land Eric Lindros. Like that was a big name to come to Toronto. Unfortunately, it didn't last as long as I would have loved it to last, but it was really cool to get to see him play. I went to a couple games when he was in Toronto, and he was always one of my favorite players. Big kid, big size. It's unfortunate his career took the turns it did because of concussions. But good player. I'm just checking out the scoreboards around the league. The Jays are getting hammered 14-1 right now. I'm a sucker for supporting losing teams. I hope the Raptors change that.
The Phillies won 11-0 earlier, and now they're in the second game of the doubleheader.
Raptors game is about to start. For anybody interested, I know I will be jumping on that one.
The Nuggets came back and they're leading the Clippers by 6.
Yep, and Kawhi already.
3.
Kawhi already has 23 points. 23 points.
Not 9-19 shooting. And then he has
6 minutes left. This is where Kawhi shines, though. Last minutes, dying minutes of the quarter. I think this is where we're going to see Kawhi take this. I'd love to see them win that series, but not a big deal if they don't, because they'll probably win the next one if they lose tonight. The Raptors don't have that luxury. It's a win or go home for both teams. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. I was saying earlier, I think it's going to be a bloodbath. Like it's going to be a physical game. There's going to be a lot of altercations. It's going to be interesting.
And then I got a near, or it was an almost near perfect bracket in NBA. I did pick the Sixers, which was a mistake in the first round. I had them beat Boston, but then I had them lose to the Raptors. So I need the Raptors to win. And then I had OKC beating Houston, which Houston won that. But then I did have the Heat upsetting the Bucks.
Just going back to comments here, we were talking earlier. So Nick says the All-Star game peaked when that goofball. Yep, I agree.
Yep.
Scott, I believe, who shouldn't have even been an All-Star, which is interesting. But yeah, you're right. Should be one Winter Classic a year on New Year's. I like that too. I like the luxury of looking forward to one cool outdoor game a year and spread it out a bit more so that other teams have the possibility. Like Philly's done it 3 times now, kind of spread the love to other teams. And I feel like rivalries are a big one.
They've done the Winter Classic once. They've done the Winter Classic twice. So now they've done the Heritage one. I like the Heritage one better because I think they've turned the New Year's one into a joke now. Like ever since, like with the cities that they pick, and they cover it as good now. I think they cover like the like I said, the LA and the Heritage one, they've covered a lot better now.
So we touched base on this earlier, so I just pulled up some of the awards that have already been determined in the NHL. Matt Dumba won the King Clancy Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Ryan, the Masterton, for his dedication to hockey. Bruce Cassidy, Boston's coach, won the Jack Adams for Coach of the Year. And Couturier won the Selke for Best Defensive Forward. Nate McKinnon just was announced right now as the Lady Byng winner.
Jeremy's tuning in. He said he has Vegas winning it all.
Quite possible, but I mean, Dallas is not going to be a walk in the park for them. I didn't realize Nathan McKinnon was up against Austin Matthews and Ryan O'Reilly for the Lady Byng.
And I just got a thing that says Avalanche are trying to keep both their goalies.
Both their goalies?
Yeah, Grubauer and Francois.
Hart Trophy finalists: Leon Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon, and Artemi Panarin.
That's tough because you can say that Artemi Panarin was on a team that needed him more with his production, but then Nathan McKinnon had a great year, and Draisaitl, he has Connor McDavid on his team, so who produced?
Yeah. And then who do you think wins the Vezina? You got Connor Hellebuck, Tuukka Rask, and Andrei Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky.
Yeah.
It probably should be Connor Hellebuck. It probably should be him, but I think it'll be Vasilevsky.
Yeah, I can see that being the case. Tuukka Rask, I don't think so, no. Especially because right now people are going to be thinking about how he, whatever the reason was, he abandoned his team in the playoffs. I mean, if it was due to personal family illness for his kid or whatever, I would have probably done the same thing and left. Hopefully, again, things are okay. There's been no further news on that. And that was announced. The Calder is an interesting one. Quinn Hughes, Dominic Kubalik, or Cale Makar. I feel like Cale Makar is going to take that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that pretty much does it from hockey for the night. Unfortunately, with the season winding down and the playoffs coming to the conference finals, we're seeing only one game a night. One of the series may end before the other rather quickly. Hopefully not. Hopefully we still got quite a bit of hockey ahead. But as things wind down, between the pipes, we'll reconfigure, maybe take a week off once a Stanley Cup winner is found, and come up with some good content. I mean, shortly after, depending on how far this playoff run goes, we'll definitely have the episode. Don't you dare. We'll definitely have the episode for the draft and free agent frenzy. We will have an all day related to free agent frenzy. That's for sure. I know what you're preparing for right here. I'll let you have your moment to get yourself set up. As you all know, we do have other shows at All Everything Entertainment, including one that you're watching right now, which is the best one in our lineup that's not wrestling related. But yeah. So if you guys are looking for something else to watch this weekend, there's other stuff out there. Catch some of our older shows, some of our other stuff. But yeah. What you got there? Got anything queued up for us there, Bakley?
Yeah, trying to find it.
Something may have been deleted that you're looking for. Who knows? I don't know.
Yes.
As always, guys, thanks for joining us. Pretty awesome to have you guys chime in on Fridays, tuning in. Thank you, Nick, Jeremy.
It wasn't that this time. No.
Thank you, Nick, Jeremy, Daniel, to help me out at the beginning with some of the headlines that we had, some trade moves that we were notified of while you were out doing your thing and I was here doing ours. But yeah, that's pretty much it from a hockey side of things. I'm going to probably go watch the Raptors and keep my eye out on this Islanders Tampa Bay game, which is still 1-1. Second period just got underway. Raptors game is about to start shortly.
And before we get going, let me play this video for you guys.
Yep. We've got a bunch of shows, as I was talking and mentioning earlier. Some changes coming to our lineup real soon. Stay tuned for that. We got some new content. The company's constantly growing, some good stuff coming up. Just to touch base on that basketball game, the Clippers are now down by 2 with 1:23 left, which is a lifetime in a basketball game. Kawhi now has 33 points. Unreal, 33 points.
For a guy that Nick says is overrated.
We know how Nick feels about that, but yeah, Kawhi Leonard has just taken the Clippers into his own hands, put them on his shoulders, and I bet carries them to a victory.
It's
and
1 of 100 right now.
Potential series clinching victory there. Anyways, so with that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next Friday. If you're bored on Sunday and you're waking up early in the morning and you got nothing better to do, there's probably some good stuff you can watch on TV. But if you're really bored and you can't find anything to watch on TV, Daniel, what do you got for them on Sunday this week?
Yeah, we got a really good episode of Stand Your Ground. Tomorrow is the start of the English Premier League season, which we got a few games on, so we'll be able to actually dive right into it. And if you're into the Premier League, come listen to me and my co-host Alex as we go the games from Saturday, and then we'll preview the Sunday games, and then I'm gonna debut a new thing for Sunday Hot and Cold, as you've seen before on Game Winning Drive, where I'm gonna give my take on some players that are hot and cold from Saturday's slate of games, just to shake things up a little bit on our show.
Yep. And in case you guys haven't seen it, in case you didn't see it, that's the theme. So Daniel's got some high expectations. The bar has been raised for Stand Your Ground, and he's got a funny and always well-informed co-host with Alex. Great guys, great show. If you guys are always looking for, I mean, I'm a soccer fan as well, football, whatever some may refer to it as. I always catch the show and watch along with these guys as they go through some of the stuff going on in Premier League. And did the season start yet?
Tomorrow.
So it's the actual start too. So,
Yep.
All right. So it'll be something to look forward to, because I know for a lot of people who do watch European football, the Premier League is, I'd say it's up there with one of the best leagues to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And that's coming from an Italian. I find that the Italian series tends to be boring, especially when you have the same team constantly finishing on top, usually because they pay more. It's a very corrupt soccer league. I won't say that if my team wins, but at this point, I'm going to say that it's a very corrupt league, and there's way more excitement in the EPL. So if you're not doing anything, catch it Sunday morning, catch the game. I'm going to go watch the Raptors play some basketball, hopefully win the game. And quick update, Clippers are down by 5 with 30 seconds left. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this one off.
I'll probably have the Raptors game on myself.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you next week. Thanks again, Daniel, for coming in even while you weren't here with some of those headlines. And we will
see you next
week. Thanks, man. See ya.